And I just want to put a little piece about easy compliance, because a lot of times when you meet a girl, um, easy compliance is better. So if you get on the topic of, for example, my thing was music for a long time. Um, just asking her the question, "What kind of music are you into?" has a completely different meaning if you've already established that as your vision. So if you talk to her as if you're qualifying her as how well she can support your vision, that's completely different than a guy that just randomly asks her what kind of music she's into.
There's like a purpose and an energy behind it. Like there's a passion, and also, it's like, you're screening her. And then when she says some kind of music that you like, if you're into music, you guys have both expressed some specific, taste in music, and that's a way for you guys to bond.
And that can apply to traveling as well, as another example. There's a lot of guys that I meet, guys that do boot camps usually like to travel because you have to do a little bit of traveling to get to the boot camp. So a lot of these guys are that come for live training are into traveling. And so a lot of time that's their passion. And if you set that up as your passion, you talk about it and say, "Oh, I love traveling. I just got back from Cabo, Mexico, for example, and we're doing this and that." If you establish that as your passion and that's what you do, that's what you're into, when you go and ask her, "Where have you been? What place have you traveled to?" that has completely different effect than just asking her where she's been to as a way of killing time.
This is something you can do immediately. Sure, we're talking about developing a new vision and doing certain things, but obviously if you're listening to this, you're interested in personal development or bettering yourself, so you already have somewhat of a vision. So this is something you can do immediately. Even if you're still formulating your vision might be determining your vision. So this is definitely something you can start straight away.
Another thing, even if you don't have your vision clearly established, one thing that I saw my friend Sebastian, another thing I saw my friend Sebastian do is when we were out one time with two girls, we went and got pizza, and he was the only one that wanted pizza. I had just eaten. The girls had just eaten. They weren't hungry. And he took his sweet time eating that pizza. And, we were sitting there, and they really didn't have any reason to be there except to watch him eat pizza.
That's kind of like passive compliance. It's like
Right.
She's not really doing anything, but you can think of compliance in terms of time. Like that's something you can't really touch, but it's real. Time. And then...
And patience of
Right.
possibly being bored. I mean, we were talking about stuff, but these girls probably had better things to be doing.
And he was on her mind, and that's another thing I think with compliance is that she is so focused on you. He's eating her pizza, she's sitting there watching him. Literally in her thoughts, in her brain, in her awareness, is filled with this guy.
There's another thing I would do too. As a guitar player, is that I would have a girl actually come and help me play guitar. Like if I had to practice, it would be useful to have her like watch and help me focus. And that's something too. If you're training for something and you could somehow get her involved with helping with the training, like giving you a wake-up call or cooking a meal for you after you got training, that can be really powerful. Matt, do you have anything to add on that? Because I know your girlfriend does a lot of stuff like that for you.
Yeah, it's interesting because we cover this in boot camp, but a lot of guys initially struggle to come up with a few different ways a woman can contribute to their vision. But after a few questions, they're able to come up with literally dozens. And it's something to give some thought to now, exactly how a woman can contribute to your vision. It might be something as small as coming with you to a bookshop to have a look at some travel guides, to actually buying something that helps you with your vision. So don't be afraid to really think outside the square in having her really contribute to your vision, because ultimately, if you're really living your vision, there's not going to be a chance for her not to be involved in it, because 24 hours a day, or maybe not 24 hours because you're sleeping, you're going to be doing something in relation to your vision. So it's going to be impossible for her not to be involved in it to some extent.
Yeah, if you're going to have anything with this woman in terms of, anything beyond just one time of hanging out, she needs to get with the program. She needs to be part of your vision. Because like Matt said, if it's really that serious for you, if it's really taking up that much time, and then you and she are supposed to hang out, you have to bring those two things together, those two parts of your life, your vision and her. You need to get them aligned. You need to put her on the same page as that vision and get her helping out with that.
One small thing I want to mention is the difference and the distinction between easy compliance and compliance that's a little bit harder, especially when it comes to vision compliance and actually making the request and actually getting her to do something. With very easy things, like things that are less than $20 or things that take a couple minutes of her time, you want to do a more direct request. Like, sweetie, go ahead and pick up that magazine for me. That way I can check out. You could say something like, sweetie, go ahead and pick up a GQ magazine for me. That way we can pick out something to wear when we go on vacation together. And the reason why you want to give a direct request is because it's so small. And you want her to be able to respond to very small things like that. If it's a larger item, and also notice the us frame when we go on vacation. There's an us frame in there too, which is motivating to her. With larger items, like a guitar amplifier or buying a new pair of shoes, for example, things that cost a lot of money or take up a lot of her time, you want to indirectly put the request out there. So, for example, you could paint the picture of having this new thing. Say, oh my God, I would look great in those new shoes. Or imagine how this guitar would sound if I had that amplifier. You're just putting the need out there and letting her respond.
Just having a vision and involving her in it is very inspirational and motivational to the women you're very interested in. I know that myself, if I date someone, the results in their life tend to improve, whether it's university marks or whether it's the amount of money they make or something else, just because being involved in your vision really encourages her with her vision to step it up to a new level or to get clearer on it. And while she's helping you with your vision, there's no doubt that she's gaining a lot of benefit from it as well.
Part 4 is dirty compliance. And what dirty compliance is taking something she would be doing anyway, or something that she did anyway, and framing it as if she did that specifically for you. So I have 2 examples that I like to use, and Brian and Matt, you can comment as well. But say I meet a girl for a date, and she meets me directly after work. And for work, she's got a job where she's got to dress up, she's got to wear a nice shirt, and a skirt, and high heel shoes. I'll meet up with her and I'll say, sweetie, you didn't have to get all dressed up just for me. We're just going to dinner. And usually I'll do that with like a playful type of tonality where it's like meant to be, I'm kidding with her. It doesn't matter because it works anyway. But typically they'll laugh or they'll hit me or they'll say, I didn't do this for you. And I'll look at them and just say, it's okay, I believe you. Where I'm kidding there too. But the fact that you're taking something that she put work into and you're framing it as work for you, in her mind subconsciously it's processed as compliance and definitely helps with investment attraction and helps lead the way for her to do bigger and more levels of compliance later on. Another example is if you go over to her place and the place is really clean and she just keeps it like that anyway, I'll say, sweetie, you didn't have to clean up your entire place just for me. And again, if she says, she'll laugh or she'll hit me or whatever she does. But if she says, no, it's not just for you, I'll just look at her and say, it's okay, I believe you. Sometimes I'll even further reinforce this by giving her a kiss on the cheek or a kiss on the forehead. So I'll say, sweetie, you didn't have to clean up this place just for me. And then I'll give her a kiss. And what that will do is it will also provide a little bit of sexual shaping, which we're going to get into later.
one thing I've found when I talk to guys who are good with women compared to those who are still working on it is certain mindsets. And one of the mindsets with guys who are very good is a type of assuming mindset where he interprets reality in a way where people are doing things for him, whether they're trying to pick him up or impress him. So this is very helpful for you, not only to say it, but also in the way you think. So you can look at the effort she is already making and interpret that as that she's making it for you. And that is a very good way to interpret interactions and to work with women that you talk with, because it really puts you in a powerful position where people are really working to get your attention.
There's a really obvious way you can do this. Well, not obvious, but like simple. Women are into fashion and clothes and looking nice. So anytime a woman tells you that she went shopping, or anytime let's say she shows up for a date or something and she looks cute, just appreciating her fashion or her style or looking cute as if she did it for you. And on a date she did, but let's say she's on the phone and you're talking and she's saying, I went shopping today. You say, what'd you get? She says, oh, I got a skirt and then I got some shoes. And, you can say something like, well, I'm glad that you're going to look cute for me when we hang out on Saturday. So you're basically framing what she did as if you just assume that she did it for you. And I think if you're getting to know this woman and you're asking questions about who she is, about her life, about what she's interested in, anytime she tells you something, tells you about an interest she has or an effort she's making in her life in terms of a hobby or a goal, you can approve of that or appreciate that as if, with the tonality as if she was trying to impress you. So she says she's going back to school for, such and such. You say, that's one thing I like about you is that you don't stop growing, and I think that's what makes us good together. So it's like you framed what she did as something that contributes to the relationship.
Right. Combining it with yes frame is really powerful. And if she does do something like with fashion, getting new clothes, framing it like, we're going to look great together. Just emphasizing that you're a good couple and that you're both contributing to becoming like this powerful, awesome couple.
And a lot of women complain that guys don't notice things. I know that I had a girlfriend and she spent quite a lot of money getting her hair done, and I didn't notice. And one of my friends actually noticed, and it made me look really bad. And she was really upset with me because it was quite a big style change. And just the fact that you're noticing the effort she's making is a wonderful thing, because it makes her feel as though it was for a good purpose.
All right, we're going to move on to part 5, which is virtual compliance. Any technique or any method that has the term virtual in it, what we really mean is something that's done in a role-playing frame. So, for example, if you set up a frame where my 2 favorite ones are Vacation and Old Lovers Reunited. They're a little bit more advanced than simpler ones like Teacher-Student or Daddy-Daughter or Boss and Secretary. A Teacher-Student would be something like, you're pretending to teach or something or something like that. The top 2 are really Old Lovers Reunited and Vacation. And the reason why is because they have a very romantic theme to them. You could get into the Old Lovers Reunited one by just saying, wow, this bar reminds us of, our first date 5 years ago when we were in Paris, right before we went to the Eiffel Tower. And women are interesting in that they like to show that they get it. They like to show that socially they can pick up on things. And so a lot of times they'll just play along with it just to prove that they can. And once they do that, it gets them into the very, very committed to this interaction with you. And there's a lot of cool things that you can do once you've established that role. So virtual compliance is compliance that you have gotten in a role-playing frame. And even though she's not really doing the thing that you're talking about, subconsciously it has an effect, and it's pretty much the same exact thing as her actually doing that thing. So say you're talking to her and you start out the date and you say, sweetie, I just dropped off the kids at grandma's. Oh, I can't wait to visit New York City, even though I live here. and then she'll play along with it and say, yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be a good time. We only visit the city once a year, and this is our... So you establish it, she plays along with it, and then when you're with her, you can say something like, thank you for taking the time to pack my suitcase. You folded up all my clothes perfectly. You even ironed my shirts. I just really appreciate it. And because you've already established the role, she's already gone along with the role, she's usually going to say something like, well, you've been so good to me lately. And she's doing all these things. And in order to just answer the question, she's got to subconsciously imagine the situation where all that stuff is true. And so subconsciously, she's going to start perceiving you as this very good partner to her and someone that she would put work into pleasing.
Another way to talk about virtual compliance is that you're role playing. It's an imaginary scenario. And doing it on an advanced level means taking it one step further, where in the role play, in the virtual scenario, she is playing a supportive role where she is, doing something to help you. It's not just you and her going on this adventure together, but you can really play it up. You can do something along the lines of like a doctor and nurse, or a boss secretary, or if it's like Vin was talking about with the vacation, you can playfully talk about how she did all the planning for the vacation while we're out with the boys, and that's how you know that she's such a great girlfriend. And so it's funny and it's imaginary, so she's not going to fight it. And because of that, you can really push the compliance ratio, where within the scenario, she's doing a lot of stuff and is in a very submissive, more supportive role compared to you.
I've had interactions where if you're watching it, it seemed like it progressed very fast, as far as us touching each other, as fast as us moving together or doing things together. But what someone who was watching may not realize is it was done in the situation of a role play. I might have been teaching her how to dance, or imagining being on a holiday with her, or doing something exciting. It wasn't done under the terms of a normal conversation. And often people will be a lot freer to just let themselves go, or to just have fun with it, where normally they may really overthink it. It reminds me of when I went to karaoke and there was a girl and I mentioned singing a song together. And while we were singing the song, I was able to touch her very closely and pull her in. And I think if I just walked up to her and did that, she may have rejected it. But I really, during the song and before it, made out like we were singing to a large audience, like a concert, like we were giving a huge performance. And this freed her up to have fun with it. She touched me back. She really got into the role play with me. It allowed a lot of things to happen that wouldn't have happened just in a normal conversation.
I have a couple of advanced kind of examples that you can use in both the vacation frame and the Old Lovers Reunited. Both of these frames are very good because, like for example, in vacation, it's such a better frame than like guy trying to pick up girl at the bar. All right, even if you're a guy trying to pick up a girl at the bar, if you can establish that the frame is you and her are on some cool vacation, think about how cool that is. What happens when a guy tries to pick up a girl at the bar? Gets rejected, she resists, the girl's got all the power, there's other guys involved. It's just not cool at all. What happens when you're on a vacation with a girl? Well, the first thing comes to mind is you have lots of sex. So automatically it's a much better frame to be interacting with, and automatically it's going to give her a much better feeling about you, and it's going to allow you to escalate a lot faster without her objecting. Now, what I'll often do is if I talk to a girl and I'm doing the Old Lovers Reunited thing, which by the way is also awesome, because what happens if you're with a girlfriend and then you say you're with her for a couple of years and then you break up for a month or 2 months or whatever, and then you get back together with her, what's usually involved with that?
Breakup sex.
Breakup sex. Right, which is like the best kind of sex ever. So that's very effective as well. One thing I'll usually do is talk about having an affair while she was gone, and getting her to talk about coming back, and framing it as if she's already kind of made up with me, or already kind of accepted it, already decided to take me back. And that's imaginary jealousy. That's virtual jealousy, which is, it's good stuff.
Just a quick comment. Keep in mind how different that is from what every other guy is trying to do. Vin's actually breaking up with her. Every other guy's trying to get sex from her. He's trying to create a relationship. Vin's breaking up, completely under the radar.
Part 6, and this is a short one, but this is black compliance. And black compliance is when she's already doing something, she's in the middle of doing something, and then you tell her to do it. So for example, if you're at a restaurant and there's a wait, and she goes over to sit down, you could say something like, yeah, just have a seat over there, as she's already sitting down. Another thing you can do in a car is having her, after she gets out, if she's going to like shut the door, you say, yeah, can you lock it too? She's already doing it, but you're telling her to do it. And it's very easy, really, you don't have to get her to do anything. She's already doing it. But it has the effect of her just generally being submissive to you and doing things that you tell her to do.
And the most important thing about it is that it's, again, situationally relevant. If you think about the more literal compliance techniques, they're all about what's going on right now or what's real. And then you can think about also the virtual compliance techniques about, painting a scenario. The thing about, the more situationally relevant compliance techniques, direct compliance or black compliance, it requires an awareness. It requires that you are awake and paying attention and you are alert. It requires that your attention is not in your head, but on the situation at hand. You are paying attention to the world around you and the woman. And if you think about, wherever you're at, you can look at one thing and then you can turn your head and look at something else. And you can do the same thing with your mind. And if you're with a woman, you need to be awake and alert. It's much more attractive to be aware of your surroundings and awake and alert and paying attention to what's going on around you rather than stuck in your head trying to think of the next thing to say. If you're paying attention, you'll come up with stuff. It'll just be instinctual. And this black compliance technique requires that you're paying attention. And what ends up happening is that you create this dynamic where you're in the lead. She just gets used to you being in the lead. So if at first she wasn't, if at first maybe she was a little standoffish, and then you do this a couple times with very simple stuff like, yeah, go sit, yeah, sit right there, or yeah, come right over here. As she's already doing it herself, she will become much more docile and much more receptive to other compliance requests.
Part 7 is interesting. This is something we call occupational compliance. And occupational compliance takes advantage of the fact that she's working. She's at some kind of job. And lots of times there's very attractive women who, either working as a bartender or a waitress, or maybe she's working in a clothing store. And the fact that she's working really lends itself to occupational compliance because she's working, you're a customer, and she really has to serve you. And she has to do things that you ask her to do. So if you make her go the extra mile, and most of the time she will, for example, I knew guys that would, when they went to a restaurant, they would order water with like 5 limes and 5 lemons. And she would actually have to prepare that whole thing for them. There's a drink called Arnold Palmer, which is half lemonade and half iced tea. And if it's not on the menu, she's got to make it. So you could even ask her, say, hey, I'd like an Arnold Palmer. And she might not even know what it is, or it's not on the menu. And you actually teach her how to make it, and then she makes it for you. The fact that you're making her go the extra mile, and she's doing it simply because you're a customer, but the fact that you're making her do it is going to justify that she might have some kind of extra interest in you, or she's thinking about you. Just spending a little bit extra effort thinking about you is a good thing.
And this is a great way to, pick up women who are working, bartenders, waitresses. Typically, guys think that those are hard women to pick up. Well, actually, all you have to do is get this occupational compliance by making a more specific, more unique request that'll require more effort on her part. And then what you do is you reward with interest. And most guys get this order messed up. They try to give the woman interest. They basically want sex from her. They want to call her. They want her number and all these things before she's done anything. And once you get a woman to make some effort for you, you can then escalate, and she won't fight it because she perceives it as a reward that you're giving her rather than you trying to get sex from her. And flipping the script that way is extremely powerful. So if a waitress, makes you this Arnold Palmer, you have some conversation with her outside of work, you ask her about her life, what else she does, maybe you get another compliance thing going. And then at the end of your meal, you say, it makes total sense for you to say, you seem really sweet, I know you worked hard and I like talking to you. I want to give you a call. That makes so much more sense and looks so much more attractive. Yes, you're escalating, but your escalation is framed as a reward for her effort. So essentially, your sex, your interest, is perceived as high value and as a reward for what she does for you.
Personally, I've had a lot of success dating girls that I've met where they were working originally, whether it's a dance teacher or a girl behind a bar, or a dancer, or go in the clothing store. And what I realized was I actually could be a little bossy. I did have a bit of freedom to push it a little bit more than I normally could. And I think that by maybe giving her a bit of an order or taking a bit of a risk, it left a very good impression. Whereas I may not be able to do that just with a girl I've just met in a social situation, but because of the work situation that she was in when I met her, I was able to kind of take some more risks.
There's a more subtle occupational compliance thing you can do that I think I've been doing unconsciously. When you can engage a woman who's working in conversation and make her spend more time with you than is probably appropriate, like maybe she's a waitress, you can actually get her to sit down at your table and talk to you for a little longer than she does with the other customers. Simply that time that she spends with you, because remember, she's working and she has to share her time with other customers. That time she spends with you can be seen as compliance. And again, compliance can be seen as time where she is focused on you more so than just being polite, or more so than what would be normal otherwise. And the way to do that is simply to just ask her about her life, ask her questions about herself, and talk about yourself on topics outside of, the immediate context, like, the restaurant. So she's a waitress, don't talk about food or what's on the menu. Ask her what else she does, ask her if she's in school, and get her to spend more time with you at your table. And then she will perceive that as, she's doing it because you're a cool guy compared to the other customers. You're a cool customer. So you're immediately separating yourself.